All right. Thank you everyone for coming, and thank you for tuning in to our session on the new way of blockchain entertainment. So before we begin, I kind of wanted to make a note that entertainment company has been a very old legacy industry throughout the time, and it was very capital-focused market as well. And throughout the time, I think there has been a lot of innovations in this market, especially through technologies like OTT platforms and so on. But as we're in a Korea Blockchain Week, we want to shed light on how crypto and blockchain infrastructure can help contributing to that disruption and innovation. So we have very strong experts in this market, and we will be shedding light on sort of sharing our insights to our audience. So can we begin with introducing ourselves, starting with Dan?
Hi there, yeah. I'm Dan Patterson, general partner of Sfermion, which is a multi-strategy investment firm kind of focused on the Web3 consumer applications. We started back circa 2019 with a direct NFT asset investment firm focused on gaming assets, art assets, collectibles, the whole gambit, if you will. In late 2021, we launched our venture fund, really focused on bringing broader adoption to the metaverse via kind of these Web3 applications, which is what we're doing today.
Hi everyone, this is Joseph from Modhaus. I'm a co-founder of Modhaus. Modhaus is a K-pop startup who wants to be a game changer in this industry using blockchain technology. And we are having decentralized K-pop idol production. So fans can participate in the album production process, having NFT and utility token that we provide them. So let's have a good discussion today.
Hi, my name is Amanda Cassatt. I started in the space as CMO of Consensus, where I helped bring Ethereum to market and built the first Web3 marketing team. My company, Serotonin, is the largest Web3 marketing firm. We work with Korea Blockchain Week, actually, and a lot of leading startups in the Web3 space. We also are a product studio. We invest in building and spinning out products that are of interest to our community. The first one of those is Mojito, which is an NFT e-commerce infrastructure platform used by a lot of the leading brands that are selling Web3 digital goods.
All right, thank you for the introduction. I wanted to start with Dan. Sfermion is very well known with investing into a lot of metaverse projects, NFT-based projects, which is a very core function of what we see in the future entertainment. And there are a lot of cultural trends being built on top of those technologies and your portfolio companies. So in this regard, what's your take on how content distribution will be shaped with this crypto technology as we go by?
Yeah, I think when we think about content distribution for kind of Web3 entertainment applications, I kind of harken back to a lot of the roots about why crypto is interesting in the first place, right? It happens to kind of disintermediate some of the kind of legacy financial institutions, payment providers, what have you. And I think in media entertainment, we're going to see kind of the exact same thing, where artists are able to directly interact with their fans, create content that is hyper-personalized and kind of avoids kind of some of the legacy distribution channels. So again, if I'm creating digitally programmable art, I can do that in a way that is custom to my collectors. They can all share and participate in that process in a much more direct capacity. And I'm not reliant on kind of legacy galleries or brokerages to really own that relationship for me. So it's really just about having that hyper-personalized and direct kind of fan experience, if you will.
I'm kind of intrigued about that hyper-personalization part. Could you elaborate more on that?
Yeah, totally. I think that it's where we're seeing a lot of the technology going, especially with regards to more automation, more utilization of certain AI tools, et cetera. I think one of the first ways we saw this was through on-chain generative art, right? Where it's like, I as a user come in and have a say in the metadata of the art that's being created, right? That was a totally new use case in the world of digital art, right? So it's like me as a fan, I mean, Joseph can speak about this much better as well, right? But their fans are actually having a say in the content that's being produced, right, through the label. And so I think that's just, kind of one out. It's different for all genres, right? Whether it's a game application, whether it's an artist, whether it's a K-pop group. But I think, having that fan engagement piece is going to be super critical, and that's a lot of what NFTs are, allow us to do.
Right. Yeah, that's very interesting how, how crypto can actually shape. It actually opens up a room for a lot of different models that has not been, possible with traditional infrastructure. So just pinning towards that, direct contact with fandom, I kind of wanted to get to Joseph on this question. Modhaus is using, you said, utility tokens and NFTs that you're using. So, Korea is famous for having a lot of entertainment companies. And, from your experience, to what extent can these technology capture the monetization strategy further from traditional industries? Could you sort of explain on, from your own experience?
So for entertainment business, traditionally, album sales and concert was the top revenue sources for entertainment companies. But NFT can be one of the additional revenue source for all the entertainment companies. But most of the entertainment companies in Korea, they sell another digital merchandise of NFTs. So there are limitation on the number of NFTs they're minting, and they're selling at extremely high price, so that fans cannot purchase more NFTs than compared to other investors. So that was the problem in this industry, but we had different approach compared to other NFT projects. We have unlimited supply on NFT and selling at fixed price, so that fans can get more NFTs and they can participate more. And then the album that is produced as a result of that NFT sales or that voting events can be higher with the mass adoption. So what we focused mainly was mass adoption of NFT for K-pop fans.
I see. And I was also wondering though, we had a little interesting conversation before we went to the stage where, a lot of Korean enterprise and entertainment companies actually opting into Web3 technologies as well. But given that there are a lot of L1s and L2 players coming to the KBW as well, what was your criteria in choosing, which blockchain you want to build your, application on? What was your rationale? And
you can provide transparency in the process by having on-chain data, so that fans can trust and believe all the process that is forming idol groups or choosing title songs. But for us, if there is a problem on the process of voting events, I think it will be a CS for entertainment companies. So what we focused on choosing layer 1 or 2 was liability and speed and the gas fee, because we focused on the mass adoption. All the gas fee is paid by Modhaus, and all the minting process is done by operated by Modhaus. So the speed was one of the criteria that we were focused on, and also the gas fee. And liability, it can be having all the there will be a lot of components to have liability, but if it failed to have it on chain, that will be a big problem for customers. So that was our criteria for choosing those layer 1 as a polygon for us. Yeah.
Right. So to sum it up, it was transaction fee and speed of the transaction and sort of reliability of the infra chain itself. Imagine chain stops, when fans were trying to vote, and all these young teenage boys and girls trying to vote, and they couldn't make it, and then if the wrong result comes out, there's going to be a lot of CS work for you guys. Do you have any experience on having those kind of problems so far?
Every time we have votes for choosing songs, choosing units, there was a problem, but it has been solved very quickly.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. Great. And yeah, I also wanted to ask Amanda on you have experience in consensus and all that, and now you're running a marketing company that really pins towards Web3 companies. And in that regard, could you also share more of interesting insights and stories about your client, like who you've been working with, who has been delving into fan engagement, and any interesting cool take from them?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're seeing a ton in the membership, rewards, and loyalty space. We work with one of the largest hotel brands that's going to launch something around that using NFTs. We're speaking right now with one of the largest festivals, actually, in Asia that's considering an entire Web3 enabled experience. And just imagine, they're thinking about the blockchain as a CRM, and it's the best CRM ever. If we think about platforms like the various Meta business suites, what they're doing is trying to gather personal information to extrapolate buying behavior from it. But on chain, you just get the buying behavior, and you don't have to worry about personal data and storing all of that. And so you can retarget your audience on the same platform where they made a purchase without having to store anything that could get hacked, that could have a problem. And so at the very minimum, we're seeing this on-chain membership, rewards, loyalty concept. Also, building community. From small brands to large brands, usually your customers never meet each other. But on-chain, if everyone downloaded the same or claimed the same NFT or has the same token to join a community, they get to actually meet each other. And that's a way more powerful form of engagement. So even clients as big as PayPal, who we recently helped launch their stablecoin, and are doing ongoing work with, even they're thinking about how do we build Web3 on-chain community at that scale. So this is everything from some of the smallest artists and creators that are using it to build their first communities of 10 people, 20 people, but it's also some of the largest companies in the world thinking, how do we remake our experience and our relationship with our customer base and turn them into a community instead of customers?
Yeah, that's a really interesting take. So we talk about relationship between a supplier and a consumer, right? That's what. So fandom is definitely something we can call it as a community because they're sharing the same interest and they're sharing the same value. But the way crypto shaped, different engagement. What other case do you think there would be in this field? Apart from just being in the same community, not being confined to a Discord server or Telegram chat. Do you have any, have you seen any case, or do you think, is there any ideal case that you can mention?
I think the other cool thing is the relationship between the physical and the digital. So we've had this for a long time with POAPs, proof of physical attendance, it's been around for a while, but now lots of brands and companies are thinking about this for their events. And so they're using this to learn who actually showed up at something in person. And then there's this relationship with the digital. And so I think we're going to see a lot of the incentives that are Web3-based incentives on and off the chain, and those things merging really seamlessly with each other through incentives.
You said it also matters who showed up to the event. To what extent, how much would you weight in that? Because I think that's a ton.
So here's how we think about marketing, and perhaps this is useful to people. But if you can convince your mother and your father and your dog to use your product, that's the first group. That's concentric circles, and those people will show up for you, and those people will be your super fans. Then you talk to your uncle and aunt and your cousins. That's your next circle. And so you want to really engage the people closest to you that are your super fans, because then they evangelize and they spread the word. And the people that show up in person are your super fans and your evangelists. And they aren't people to be ignored. They're the people to really invest in.
So like, for example, if Jay-Z shows up in that one of those physical events, people would just go dive into their community and try to get into the community.
I mean, even more simply than that, not necessarily some big celebrity showing up somewhere. I mean the everyday people that are early fans of a project.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, thank you for your take. The next question would be pinning twice to every one of you here. You know, when we talk about crypto, we talk about transparency. We talk about like data integrity. But when it comes to like, you know, applying that concept to, you know, entertainment industry, it can sound a little bit too abstract to a lot of people. So, you know, what do you think, you know, these entertainment companies should, and like, you know, which actions they should take when it comes to like, you know, content licensing, you know, content distribution, you know, like just to compare it with the current industry? Like, you know, is there any like solid problems there are in the market, and how that can be changed with crypto?
You want to take this?
There is some manipulation on like fan participation program. There are a lot of fan participation program that uses voting for having fans' opinion, but there was vote manipulation. And also for like movie, there are a lot of customers or viewers having their comments, but there is fake viewers, and they're manipulating all the result of the like having movies score.
Yeah.
But for K-pop scene, there is the main producer of the biggest K-pop audition program has been sentenced to 3 years in jail because of the manipulation scandal. And we wanted to put transparency using on-chain data. All the voting results can be recorded on-chain so that fans can trust more on the result and the process of building idol IPs.
Yeah, I think that transparency is, you know, largely applicable in a lot of different ways, just outside of just fan voting. But again, like crypto in general has been cited as kind of like a panacea for voting systems more broadly. And it's really fun to see that actually being applied in Joseph's case in a way where, you know, we're not ready to vote for president using blockchain necessarily, but like, let's try it with voting for what should the title track of the album be. And again, you're seeing kind of fans go around and actually create, like, understand what Polygon scan is so that they can actually audit the outcomes of these vote tallies, right? So I think that's a really cool kind of first use case. You can also think about it for like fantasy sports and wagering platforms, and just really anything else where people have like a monetary incentive or even just a fan incentive to understand what's being done, right? You think about kind of the offshore gambling market and why kind of they've adopted crypto in general, right? It's like there is a, you know, peer-to-peer relationship that you're able to have with extremely low fees that people can trust, right, without having to trust their counterparty. So I think whether it's voting, whether it's payments, or whether it's actually the digital media that's being delivered to the actual fan, I think you have that auditability and transparency that what's happening is kind of above board, again, because we're all very bullish on kind of blockchain technology being adopted more broadly.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting though, because I think transparency is really important to like users and fans, whereas like companies probably would not want too much of the transparency because they have the room to leverage that, right? And you know, what's your take on that? Like, do you think, given that like, you know, this blockchain technology can guarantee that transparency to the people who's interested in this market, would a lot of companies actually adopt this technology for the sake of that?
It might, they're certainly going to be reticent, right? Which is kind of why we had this whole like, you know, blockchain, not Bitcoin, kind of like enterprise blockchain, you know, theme, especially circa like the 2015-16 bear market where you had a lot of like the large banks and whatever building kind of their own enterprise blockchain applications. But I think recently with this huge drive kind of towards UGC content creation, you know, you look at like Epic and Roblox and all these guys, you look at guys like what Modhaus is doing, I think the trend is definitely there for more kind of fan-created content that is then used as their evangelist to kind of go out and find that next, fan to leverage. So I think they're going to be kind of directionally pushed in that venue anyway, as in they're kind of becoming more of this platform model versus kind of this one-to-one, I create the content, you ingest it, right?
But at the same time, we're also seeing technology solutions to this in ZK, things like Alio, things like other ZK projects that are saying there's some business logic that people aren't going to want transparency around, that the market isn't going to demand transparency around, that you can put on chain so you can verify things without actually seeing all the steps. I think that's going to really happen in the entertainment world. And then, like what Joseph was saying, I think root ownership is a lot of the value proposition and making sure that people are clear that they actually own the things that are in their wallet.
Yeah, it's like just looking at like Joseph's case, I think if you go on like Dune or Polygon Scan, you can actually see how many people voted, and like how many which accounts would hold like how many NFTs. Like some guys would hold like 800 NFTs, I swear. So they would spend like loads of money for these NFTs. So given that, comparing it to other entertainment company, do you think Modhaus actually disrupted to a certain level to the current industry in Korea? Because the competition of these entertainment companies in Korea is very high. It's almost like a red ocean. There's so many idols that people don't really aware, and a lot of teenagers actually dream to become like idols. And in this market, I think Modhaus, an entertainment company came out fairly recently, has positioned really well. And I was kind of wondering if you have any evaluation on your own company, to what extent you have disrupted, within this pool of entertainment companies.
As Wooster mentioned, entertainment business, this industry is highly competitive, and there are a lot of idols, more than hundreds of idols coming out for having fans attraction. But I think Modhaus can attract a lot of fans within a very short time period. It's been 1 year and 8 months after we founded this company, but we released 4 albums with Triple S, and now we have 1.7 million subscribers in our YouTube channel. So it can be a differentiation point for other entertainment companies' point of view to have voting system, sub-unit system. Fans can decide. Fans can participate in album production. So I think it was a good start for us. But what we ultimately want to do is to be a LinkedIn or a Kickstarter of K-pop, so we can have more goals to go. But it was a good start for us.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I thought, I think I wanted to ask Amanda on this. Since you've been helping out with a lot of brands in Web3, what was your, take in, just looking at, including Web2, fans and, creators have been engaging differently throughout the time. So could you also share that, how that has been being evolved and what you would expect that will be changed when this Web3 infrastructure come into place?
Sure. So I think that creators are engaging with communities, and artists are continuing to talk to their buyers rather than putting something out into the world and having it be gone. I think that's the core difference.
Right. So given that, the consumption can also be affected, right? It's not just Korea, but also in the States. A lot of people would actually consume goods and products. And how do you think that will be shaped within this digital era?
Yeah, I think what's really exciting, if you already have a big brand and a lot of followers, it's a non-cannibalistic new product line. And it's a new way to monetize your audience. If you don't have a lot of fans and followers, it's a way to bootstrap having an audience almost from zero. And for big brands that are coming into the space and entering, it's a way to have a closer, more personal, engaged, loyal relationship with your potential customer, and also gain customers that are younger, more technologically savvy, and that are going to be vocal on social media platforms about you.
And how do you evaluate that's happening? Like right now, a lot of infrastructure still has a lot of hurdles for these fans, because now we're talking about like people who are familiar with Web3, but you know when we're talking about fans, they don't really have much experience in even like downloading MetaMask. So how do you think, how would you evaluate, that in the current, circumstances?
Sure. So take one example, which is our partner Sotheby's, which we helped bring into the Web3 space. Founded in 1741, and most of their book of buyers are older people. They're art buyers. They don't have MetaMask. And so when we started working with them through Mojito, our spinout, which is the platform that all of their sales are run on, when we started working with them, we thought, how are we going to convert all your existing book of users to care about NFTs? And it turned out that for the existing community, it was about the artist and the art itself. And if the artist and the art and the actual use case is compelling enough, people are going to jump over the hurdles with a bit of hand-holding. The other thing we found was instead of just converting the existing Sotheby's customers to doing something new and buying digital art, which happened a bit, what happened was lots of new customers came to Sotheby's that had never bought something before from Sotheby's. So suddenly crypto people, which was a huge percent of people that have purchased in their various sales, suddenly crypto people are buying digital art from them, but also buying physical art and coming across and becoming customers of their other core business.
Right. So it's an interesting take. So as long as people want that product, they would get over that hurdle, like whatsoever.
And it can go both ways. It can be converting your existing users across, and it can also be gaining new users that are native.
I see.
I think there's another interesting element to that as well, because again, just with regards to entertainment, gaming, whatever, it's like there are a lot of folks where that's certainly true, where the experience is that great, where they're going to be willing to onboard or understand some new technology. But I think for a lot of more fickle users, right, where they're, they have so many options, right? It's like, what's the new free-to-play mobile game that I'm going to play, next week with my friends or whatever? What's the casual RPG? It's just abstracting away as much of that complexity as you possibly can. Yeah, and so it's like, we speak with a lot of gaming companies today where it's like, the first thing they come and say to us is, users don't even know this is a Web3 enabled game, right? We're creating custodial wallets on the back of it, and for our pro users who really want to monetize or take economics out of the system, then we'll allow them to put it on chain or, give them their assets in a way that's truly kind of, towards the Web3 ethos. But I think so much of it is just like, let's give them an experience where the friction's as low as possible, they're not paying gas fees like Joseph was talking about, and just, we can layer them into this as they kind of gain familiarity. Yeah,
the two factors are how much motivation they have and how much friction there is. And those are the two dials to play with.
Right. Yeah, I think we're running out of time, so I'll go with our last question to ask all of you. When it comes to sort of integrating Web3 technologies for these entertainment companies, what would be do's and don't for these companies to get involved?
I can just grab that first, but for us, and we work with a lot of companies coming into the space, and they're interested in working with Serotonin or launching Web3 digital goods on Mojito because we work with a lot of the native companies. And so we know how to help bring them in a way that's going to be accepted. So the North Star is this strengthening to the overall community around Web3? Is this augmentative to it, or is it diverting resources into some other direction? Is it giving people actual root ownership of their assets and actual Web3 onboarding? Is it partnering with and helping grow various kinds of Web3 native brands and communities? And those kinds of questions are our North Star.
I think you have to have a clear definition of the target audience, target customers that you're targeting, and also you have to know about their persona and trying to meet their needs, trying to analyze their needs to form the service. It can be a Web 2 service or Web 2.5 service, but if their needs is for our example, we are targeting K-pop fans who doesn't know anything about Web3 terms or Web3 technologies. So we just focused in on having them to use Web2 service, and that was, I think, biggest key success factor for us.
Yeah, I think it obviously depends on the type of customer you're speaking about. For like large consumer good brands like a Coca-Cola or a Nike, the strategy is going to look one way. For like luxury fashion, for a Tiffany's or someone, it's going to look a little bit different. For a game application, it's going to look a little bit different as well. I think, kind of to what Amanda was alluding at, doing it with intentionality, and to what Joseph's saying, understanding who your customer base is and what their kind of traditional behavior set is, and then leveraging that to do something new, unique, fun. Again, these are programmable assets at the end of the day, so it's really, the world is our oyster a little bit for kind of the right way to apply
What if we
technology.
sort of confine it to like fandoms? Like, what would they have to be careful when using like NFTs? I've seen like a lot of companies just selling NFTs and just neglect it. And a lot of communities are just left, they're just left obsolete, not being able to do anything. Like they'll keep asking like, what's going to happen to the price of these NFTs? I think a lot of companies, they try not to be speculative when they're providing these NFTs, but it's inevitable. Like when the price is tagged on those NFTs, and as long as there's a secondary market, you probably want someone to take care of your NFTs.
Yeah, I think a lot of the times these brands don't have a true appreciation for they're literally launching like a capital value asset, right? This will be a publicly traded, like people are going to care as much as they do about like the price of their stock, right? There's going to be an equivalent appreciation there for the value of these assets. So I mean, one of the things we say just coming out of the gate for any brand is like just be very, very aware of the price that people are paying for these assets out of the gate, and to be appreciative that there's going to be a secondary market. So your first buyer may make money. That doesn't mean the second buyer who then holds it and buys it at 2 to 3x that price is necessarily going to have the same feeling that your original buyer did. And so again, it really is just that like making sure there's that constant communication, feedback, roadmap planning, all the rest of it, so that people can't come in and be like, hey, you haven't properly communicated to me what the value or utility of this asset is.
All right, so that ends up our session. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you for your valuable insights, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.